Hi, and welcome to the Happier Attorney YouTube channel. I am Brita Long, the author and creator of The Happier Attorney. And on this channel, we talk about how you can create your practice and have a life as an attorney that you love, that fits you, so that you can actually practice law and be a happy, well-rounded person. Imagine that. And this month is February, and hence the red, very festive. And so we are going to be talking about caring for yourself this month. But it's going to be a little different than maybe what you've heard in the past. It might sound a little woo-woo, just stay with me, don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking about feelings. I know, like we're attorneys, we like to pretend we don't have feelings. Feelings are for the weak. We're logical, and that's a bunch of BS, okay? We're human just like everybody else, and we have feelings. I know, I just almost threw up a little bit in my mouth as well. I get it, okay? But when we don't acknowledge that we have feelings, that's when we're ugly to people. And as attorneys, we are really, really ugly to one another. And one thing to keep in mind is that when you're on the receiving end of that from opposing counsel, let's say, or a judge, the battle that that person is fighting isn't with you, it's with themselves. Because no human being can act like that when they're happy. Impossible. So when someone is being horrible to you, know that it really isn't you, okay? Now, how do we create some kindness for ourselves? And here's why it's important to be kind to yourself. Because when you start being kind to yourself, that permeates. You're a lot happier, okay? This attorney martyrdom thing that I used to do, that I see other attorneys doing, is for the birds, quite frankly. This perfectionism, this if you make a mistake, you feel like it's the end of the world. And then think of how we talk to ourselves when we make a mistake. Oh my gosh, I know how I used to talk to myself. It was brutal, absolutely horrendously brutal. And ask yourself this question: would you want to be around somebody who talked to you and treated you like that? And yet you're the one who's doing that to yourself. And it's not necessary. I actually used to think that the harder I was on myself, that it was like tough love, that it was somehow instilling discipline, that I just needed to buck up. And what it was doing was exactly the opposite. And so this month, we are going to be talking about being kind to ourselves, and why that's actually been not only beneficial to us, but beneficial to everybody else around us. And yes, for those who are like, oh my gosh, if she talks about feelings one more time, I want practical, I want the things, I want to know how to, save time and make more money and blah, 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 blah. We'll get there, okay? But we have to start with the core, because how you're viewing yourself and whether you're kind to yourself, it starts with you. Because if you're not being kind to yourself, you're probably not being terribly kind to other people. And half the time, we don't even realize how we sound to our staff, to our clients, to everybody else. Now, if you've just been sharp with your staff, how do you think that they're going to feel interacting with your clients? Do you think they're going to be terribly kind, or are they it's going to show that, their feelings were just hurt or they're not happy? It permeates every layer. So if you just want the practical, stay here because I will show you how it is practical, but it starts with you. So when you start showing yourself kindness, it can be uncomfortable. Here's what it means. And I used to think, and how did I start showing myself kindness? Somebody called me on it. Somebody who I trusted and who I admired called me out on it and said, what if you were kind to yourself? And I didn't even know what he meant. I was like, I am kind to myself. I get facials and I get massages every once in a while. I'm kind to myself. I didn't have a clue until he started pointing out, how do you talk to yourself? What expectations are you putting on yourself? I was putting absurd expectations on myself, completely unrealistic expectations of myself, and comparing myself to everybody else out there and not measuring up. Feeling like I didn't measure up in anything. And it didn't matter what I did, it didn't matter what I accomplished, it wasn't enough. The bar was always going to be here, and if I didn't make it, I was really unkind to myself. And so I started watching how I was talking to myself and what my expectations were. And maybe not thinking it was the end of the world if I made a mistake, if I didn't jump that hurdle each and every time. And then keep setting it higher, by the way. And what that means for attorneys, especially when we're talking about flat fees, again, I'm feeding your brain a little bit here. We're going to get a little away from the woo-woo, is being kind when you make a mistake. What we do is important. What we do affects people's lives. And with the rare exception, what we do is not going to kill someone even if we make a mistake. We are actually not brain surgeons, okay? And while absolutely have pride in your work, do your best, recognize that not every mistake that you make is going to be life and death. And so when you make a mistake, don't automatically go to beating the crap out of yourself. Learn from it. Okay, what happened? Ask yourself, what happened? How can I prevent that from happening again? And move on. It feels a lot better than just flogging yourself, okay? How this translates also when you start being kind to yourself and you start advocating for yourself and respecting yourself, and dare I say, loving yourself, it translates into how other people treat you, whether they try and violate your boundaries or not, and how you respond. People who are kind to themselves, people who love themselves, they don't have a boundary issue because they just walk away. They just don't tolerate that ridiculousness. There's no, is that client going to pay me? It's the client pays me or I walk. No fretting, no up all hours of the night worried about it. They demand respect and they get it. And it starts with how you value yourself. And not putting yourself in a position that you're going to have to maybe defend your boundaries to begin with. Not putting you in a position where you have no choice but to feel bad. So having those boundaries from the get-go and not getting emotional about it. You don't have to get in a fight with opposing counsel. You just don't engage. Someone sends you a nasty email, unless it is productive to engage, you just don't engage. You don't have to hit reply. If that's not going to move the case along, why? And I can hear you, to cover your rear end and to create a paper trail. Why? So the judge can read this back and forth nonsense? You think that's going to help move the case along or help your side? No. Rather than just being able to tell a court, you know what, this is the, 1 or 2 emails that I got and I don't respond to that. It wasn't going to be productive and I don't do it. Wow, what a concept, right? It's amazing. And then guess what? You probably stop getting so many of those emails. It means, not taking on, being kind to yourself means maybe not taking on too much. I know that I have had a real problem with putting way too much on my plate. And we're told as attorneys that we're supposed to put a lot on our plate. Oh, well, do this for marketing and do this for marketing. Here's the, 200 things you can do every day for marketing. Oh, and, you're supposed to join the bar and be involved in the community and. Wow, okay. That does not make a happy attorney. So being kind to yourself means saying no, and saying no to a lot. If you don't really want to do it, if it's not really going to move the needle, you say no. It's either a hell yes or it's a no, period. You are not under an obligation to work 50, 60, 80 hours a week. to be able to say you're an attorney. That's absurd. Okay? So I'm going to invite you to maybe think about how you advocate for your clients, how you stick up for them, how you would allow someone to talk to them, and then flip that back on yourself. Are you great at advocating for them but not for yourself? Do you tolerate things that you have no business tolerating? And maybe ask yourself, could you be kinder to yourself? Just even little bites. Okay? How can you be kinder to yourself? And it starts with just observing when you're not, observing how you react to the little things and the big things, and what you're telling yourself, the language that you're using, and your tone. Okay? So if you have gotten any value out of this video, I would ask you to subscribe, like, share, all of the things. If you are not a member of our Facebook group, Attorneys and Flat Fees, the link is below. If you want more information about working with me, the link is below. Anyway, you are doing a great job. You're helping people, and you're going to help them more the kinder you are to yourself. So remember that. And you all have a good day, and we'll see you in the next video.